Welcome, Cruising Croppers. Thank you so much for purchasing our Escape album. I hope you enjoy making it as much as I did. So here's our little album. There's a pocket on the left and an accordion book on the right. Boom. Lots of pictures, lots of space for pictures, extra little pockets for 3 little tags. And then on the left, you have the little waterfall album where you can fit 6 photos and even put photos on the backs of the pages if you want to maximize your album. Okay, so let's get started. Let me show you what's in your kit. You will find your instructions and your bag of loosables, all the extras. We have a small piece of acetate that has no holes in it and a larger piece with the holes for your binding. You have a long piece of string to thread through the binding of your album, as well as a 2-foot piece that you will cut in half and will be the closure of your album. And then we have all sorts of paper and our front and back cover. And we'll walk you through this, how to make the album, and you should be done in about an hour. So it's a nice little short period of time, and you will feel very productive when you're done. So go ahead and set all that to the side, and we will get started first on covering the outside and inside of our front and back cover. We're going to first cut down this 5x7 chipboard piece into a 6x5. So just 1 inch, making it shorter. And depending on your cutter, you may have to flip it over like this and to get all the way through. But it will cut on even the standard cutter. We're going to cut the pineapple paper first. This is going to be the outside covers, front and back. So paying attention to the direction, you'll do 7 inches tall by 6 inches wide. And then we're going to glue down our chipboard onto the stripe side. Now you can use whatever glue you like the best. We just recommend a strong glue. I love this Arlene's tacky glue. It doesn't bubble as long as you don't put too much on. It usually dries very flat and very strong. It allows you to reposition it slightly before it dries. You could use score tape, but I don't think a tape runner is really strong enough for most of this album. So have your wet glue or your score tape handy throughout the project. We're going to press this down really good and then set it to the side to dry, because I'd rather not mess with it until I know it's good and dry. You do want to get it straight, and it's nice to have those stripes on the back to help you get it straight so that your pineapples aren't crooked in the front. going to skip ahead a little bit in your instructions and ink up the 3 escape words. You'll find that they are white. You'll find 3 of them in your bag. That is not a mistake. We did a really fun shadowing look on these. So you got 3 of them. And you can just pick 2 coordinating colors that you like. I left one of them white and then inked up one with a light pink and one with a dark pink that matched. You could do 2 shades of yellow. There's a couple different options for you. You're not going to be able to see this all that well, this light pink, but it does look good once it comes together. If you don't have inks, you could always use markers, 2 different shades of markers. But the reason I'm inking these up early is so that I can let them completely dry. So when I made my first example, I glued them together immediately, and I ended up with little bits of pink on top of my white escape word, and I didn't want that to happen again. So I set those to the side, and we'll come back to that later. So next we're going to pick back up our chipboard. It should be pretty dry by now. And we're cutting off the corners. You don't want to get all the way to the tip of the corner. You want a little bit of a gap there so that when you do fold up and over on all of your sides, there's no gap in between where your pieces line up. And better to be conservative on your cut than to overcut, so you can always trim a little bit more off if it doesn't overlap just right. But then here again, I use score tape just to make it nice and strong. And once you finish with this one, you can go ahead and do the same exact thing to your other cover. We'll just fast forward a little bit here. Now look for your 2-foot piece of ribbon and cut it in half. Go ahead and line up your binding so that you know which direction is up. And then I placed a ruler here so I could see the middle point, the 3-inch mark on my covers. And you want to glue these down now so that they are underneath the blue cardstock inside cover. So just have that hang out to the left and the right. Doesn't have to be real exact, but Definitely want it close to the middle so they line up on both sides. And feel free to iron your ribbon before you get started. So now find the piece of blue cardstock. It's already 5.5 inches tall by 12 inches wide. So we need to cut it down to 4.5 by 5.5 sections. So don't glue that yet, but now we need to prep our cover. I did pre-score these for you, but I noticed after sitting a little bit, it went flat again. So I would recommend using your scoreboard and going over those lines a bit, and it's going to naturally start to fold up. And we're going to glue these on both sides of the inside, the covers, and then glue down the blue cardstock. So when you put your glue down, you don't want any glue that's going to show. So avoid putting any of your score tape on the pineapple paper that you have wrapped around. Just put it on your chipboard base. And I definitely think score tape is your best option here. Now that you have your binding down and your front and back cover connected, we can put down our blue cardstock. Feel free to ink any pieces that you like as we go along. I don't ink everything in this video, but I'll probably go back and ink it once I put photos down. But some things like this are much easier to ink as you go along. Now it wouldn't hurt at this point if you wanted to go ahead and put your ribbon down the binding, and I show you how to do that towards the end of the video, but it also doesn't matter if you wait. So whether or not you want to fast forward now and get that done before you glue down your left and right photo sections, might be a little bit easier to handle the album if you did it that way, but certainly still very doable at the end of this video. So we're going to give that plenty of time to dry before we glue down our pocket and our accordion. So that's nice that we got this part down, and we will create the other elements. So we're going to start with the accordion side first. It's going to be waves, pineapple waves. So there's the two sections of waves. You can go ahead and cut both of those strips at the same time. Again, pay attention to the direction of your waves. You want it to go up and down as you cut it. So 5 inches tall, and you'll end up with a 5 by 12 piece. 2 of those. And then find your pineapple paper, stripe on the other side, and again 5 inches tall by 12. So then we're going to score each of these cuts. So grab that scoreboard again and go ahead and score them at 4 and 8 inches. So laying it long ways across, you'll score at 4 and then 8. 4 and then 8. Be careful not to do that. I poked through my paper a bit, but that's okay. So laying the waves flat, fold it up and over, and then lay your pineapple piece on top of that and up, and then over, up to the left, over to the right. Again, laying your waves down, up to the left, over to the right. So this is your book that we need to glue together, but being very careful as we glue because we're going to make pockets. So if you just kind of open it up like I did, you're only going to glue on the left, the bottom, and the right. So in a big U shape, as close to the edge as possible, not the top and not the middle, and then flip over your stripes onto the waves and work on getting those lined up. And now you're going to glue the dots onto the pineapples. Here I'm just lining everything up again. It shifted slightly. Make another U-shape, glue and the dots onto the pineapple, the last pineapple. So far you've made 2 pockets. And be sure to wipe off any glue that leaks out so that the pages don't stick together. And go ahead and grab your Swimsuit Girls paper. You're going to make a 4 by 5 inch section cut, and you can go ahead and position this however you'd like. You have plenty of this paper, so if you want to center your girls a little bit better, you could. And we're going to use this as another pocket. So again, make a U shape on the leaf side of this, and we're going to stick it to the very edge, the section of waves that's all the way to the right. So we end up with 2 waves, 2 pineapples, two waves, and then 1 swimsuit girl, 2 polka dots, 2 stripes. There shows 3 polka dots, but we're going to glue down 1 of those. So you'll only see 2 of them. So once that's all together, again, we're going to flip it over and put glue on the polka dot side so that it glues down into your book. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time showing you how to decorate the inside. There are photos available at the end of the video, and you're welcome to decorate how you'd like. I did add a piece of yellow cardstock when I decorated to add some extra matting and things, so feel free to do that. And now let's prep your 3 tags. I don't recommend that you stick them down in your pockets just yet. Again, you want that glue to completely dry so that your tags don't accidentally get stuck in there. But there's 3 of those pre-cut for you. And then you have 3 tags in your bag. Yours may look a little different than mine. I had quite a few tag punches, and I just used all of them and made sure you had at least 1 pink one and 2 others in all 3 different shapes. So whatever you have, you can decide which order you want them to go in. Again, you can ink them if you'd like, and you can use either side of that paper, either the polka dots or the waves. So I end up using one of each. In most cases, I think you're safe to go ahead and glue these tabs down. I don't think they will really interfere with any of your photos or journaling that you decide to do on these tags, because they don't take up much of the top space. And you can position those so they're just right. Now all 3 of your tags are ready to go. Again, don't stick them in just yet. Let those pockets dry. Next, go ahead and grab your wave pocket and your small piece of acetate. Here I definitely don't recommend wet glue. You want that acetate to stick right away and not have glue marks on it. So this is provided just so that your waves are a little bit more stable and hopefully your pages don't get stuck in them. And make sure you don't have any glue coming out from the acetate. I just rubbed mine off a little bit. I didn't want my other album to get stuck on there. So this glues down on the inside of the pocket. And then you can go ahead and ink up your pocket if you'd like. Feel free to use any of the coordinating colors, or even your favorite brown would look good. And then just go ahead and fold on these score lines, and we're going to first glue down those bottom corners. And then just go ahead and fold on these score lines, and we're going to first glue down those bottom corners. And then And then you can glue down your pocket into your album. So it goes together like so. Pretty simple. So put a little glue on those inside flaps. Secure those. And then I use some score tape on the other 3 sections that will actually adhere it to the side of your album. So once you have all your score tape off, you can go ahead and place your pocket down. You'll want it to be centered from left to right, but really further down. You're not centered top to bottom. You want it towards the bottom with about as much space as the sides have. So that was my little reminder to not leave your ink pads open on your desk, because I got some ink smear on the back of my album. That was so great. I'll have to figure out a creative way to cover that up later. So if your ink pad is sticking open on your desk, this is your friendly reminder to put it away. Set it far, far away from your project. So you notice I stuck a pin down in there to really secure that score tape and press down on it. So now we're going to make our waterfall album. So first we will cut our pink cardstock. It's a very light pink. And so we're going to cut 3 different strips at 3 3/4 wide. Of course, the paper is already 12 inches long. And the reason I made this like I did was because this pink cardstock was textured, and I wanted all the front facing pieces to be the texture side. So it's something to keep in mind as you are gluing them together and making your cuts, that your texture side is what is the main part that we'll be showing. So now we need to cut this down into 2 of each of these sizes. So 4 3/4 twice, 4 1/4 twice, and 3 3/4 twice. So that's 4 3/4 and 4 1/4. And then there's my smallest piece. So I did 1 of each so far, and then 4 3/4. And at first I thought this was the size that I needed, but it ends up being the wrong size. I go back and fix that later. So those are extra pieces. And see, I'm like, oh wait, that's a 1/4 inch too big. So I thought I could get away with that extra piece, but it doesn't work. So there we go. So now they're all 3 3/4 wide and various lengths. So you'll have small, medium, large, small, medium, large. You're going to score each of these at a 1/4 inch. So remember to only do the top edge. Be careful you're not accidentally scoring the side of it. So you want the top scored at a 1/4 inch. Now grab your 1/4 inch score tape, or if you have anything thinner, that works too. You just don't want it to hang over your score line. And you're going to add score tape to the top of each piece, but don't remove it, the backing, until you're ready to stack this waterfall album. Now we're going to start stacking our waterfall album. And you just want it to end up small, medium, large, small, medium, large. Making sure all the tops are lined up and the sides are lined up. So there's section 1. And so on top of your small one, you're going to stack the large one. I feel very defeated by this score tape sometimes. So here I had the one section done. Now I'm stacking my longest piece on top of that. Then my medium. And my small one on the very top. And go ahead and leave that score tape backing on for now. And we're going to go ahead and prepare our mats. The small one is cut out of the swimsuit girls, using the swimsuit girls in one section and the back side, the leaves, on the other section. I'm going to cut all of these mats 3.5 wide, but they will be various lengths long. So for your 2 shortest pieces, they'll be the 3.5 wide by 3.25 tall. So of course you can glue these in whichever order that you like. But I put the swimsuit girls first on the first small and the leaves on the second small. Next we're going to cut the stripes and the pineapple, which is really the front and back of the paper. So you're going to cut 2 of them to 3 3/4 long and the other to 4 1/4. And you'll do that twice so that you end up with the 4 pieces. So there I had both of my pineapple sizes, and now I just need one more stripe. So again, cutting that at 3.5 wide. And then I'll need one at 3 3/4 and one at 4 1/4. So now I have 2 mediums and 2 longs. I can plug those in there. Again, however you like it, but I liked the different patterns to poke out the bottom. So the second set, I did the pineapple in the middle and the stripes on the bottom. So there you go. Before you glue these down, you may want to consider inking them. I tried out the yellow on them. Honestly, it's not my favorite. You may want to try a different color. The blue or the pink or even brown. Some of the papers looked good with yellow, but I don't think that one did. But it is what it is. I'm not too picky. Now it's time to cover your waterfall with the Paradise pocket page card. It's going to wrap all the way around the top and onto the back. So go ahead and get this sheet of paper out with all the different sections and just cut out that 4x6 card that says Paradise. You can cut up these pineapples later to use in your decorating. I also had cut out both the flamingo and the suitcases. But for right now, we're just going to focus on this Welcome to Paradise section. So it's 4x6 in size, but it's a little too wide. So just cut off a little less than 1/8 of an inch off of each side. You'll still be able to read all of the words. And then you're going to cut off a 1/2 inch off the bottom. And then we just need to add 2 score lines at a 1/2 inch and 1 inch. So again, this is going to wrap around the waterfall book that you just made. Be sure to wipe off any excess glue in that crevice so that your pages don't stick together later. And just give it a second to dry. I just kept pressing it together, making sure it was still lined up properly. And then I used a Wink of Stella brush to add a little sparkle to my paradise letters. So I know Close to My Heart makes some shimmer pins, but my clear one I have is Winks of Stella, and I really like this brand as well. Can't really see it in the video, but it does add a lot of sparkle. So you can go ahead and add in your tabs, but again, if you have the time to wait, go ahead and keep letting that glue dry. And here is the book finished, just to kind of show you what I did. I did a little flip up here. That piece is already pre-cut for you. Here I cut out the suitcases, and this is where I used some extra yellow paper and some embossing dies, folders I should say, to give that a little texture. And then the flamingo was actually too tall for this section, so I chopped off his leg and then recut out his foot and added it to his shorter leg. So that's just one idea. There's a half circle in your kit that I used on the edge there just so that it made it more obvious that it was a pullout. And there I glued down the waves, more embossed paper, the vacation word, and then cut another mat. I left this unglued so I could slip a photo underneath. And of course you can add more of your extra paper to that later. So now we're going to go ahead and lace the binding and then put together the cover. So you're going to start at the very top on the inside of your album, and from the inside out poke both edges of your ribbon through there, and then just work it until your pieces of ribbon are equal length on both sides. And we're going to lace all the way down and then all the way back up, on continuing to go in and out side of the album, and eventually we'll come back to the top and tie on the outside of the album. So here I started on the inside, and now I'm on the outside, looping back inside. And we're just going to crisscross the ribbons, taking care to straighten them out as you go along. So now again, crisscross and stick them back in the opposite hole, inside to outside. You could tape the edges of your ribbon before you do this. That would make it a little bit easier to poke it through the holes. And the trickiest part is down here at the bottom, how we're going to put it back inside the album with both, and then we're going to have to loop them around so that as you go back up, it's on the opposite side, and you're crisscross all the way down the front and all the way down the bottom. So go ahead and cross over and come up to the top. And do the same with the other side. And then you're going to go back in those holes again. Crisscross the ribbons and go back in the bottom holes again. So it's kind of triple thick at the bottom, but that allows us to both go across the bottom of the album and to start going back up from the inside of the album so that the crisscrosses are on both sides. And you are almost there, just a few more holes. And you'll go back in your top holes from the inside of the album, therefore leaving your strings on the outside of your album. And you can just tie them together in a cute bow and cut off any excess that you have, just depending on how big you want your bow. You can make those loops as large or small as you like. And now for the finishing touches for the cover of your album. Inside your little bag, you will find some green leaves, actually just one, and you can use these palm trees inside. We're going to use this leaf and your rippled water, your 2 pink flowers, and the black center of your flower. So you can kind of work with that leaf a little bit and flip it up. The water goes down towards the bottom. There's not really a top or bottom to this water, just whatever you think looks better. I did go ahead and distress some of these items. Distressing these leaves a little bit actually makes the color match even better with the paper, I thought. And notice I was very careful to close my ink pad afterwards. No more marking up my album. I still got to figure out how to cover up that ink mark on the back. So this flower matches up one way. If it doesn't match up when you first lay it down, flip over the flower. Of course, you don't want to flip over the darker paper because it is textured. Now go ahead and work the leaves so they curl up a little bit. You can do that on both layers of the flower. And then we're going to use some pop dots on the back to give it a little bit more dimension. And once you have your flower glued down, don't forget your little black center. Now that your escape words are nice and dry, you can go ahead and glue those together. Again, gluing them in such a way that they are all shadowing one another. And I think you'll really like this effect. I started by adding glue to the white one first, which is the top layer. I thought that would be easiest to add underneath. And then add the dark pink layer last. Thank you again for joining me in making this escape album. I hope that you really enjoyed it, and we'd love to see your finished album with some photos in there. You can please post that on Instagram and be sure to tag us in your post. #CruiseAndCrop or @CruiseAndCrop. Enjoy!